So my name is Josh Knauer, and I'm a co-founder of a company called ReSeed. I grew up about 45 minutes to the west of here in central New Jersey, and I'm old enough that as I was growing up in high school in the earlier than the 1980s, I used to wander through farm fields and through woods and through areas that were completely undeveloped, and I would play with turtles and all the animals that I saw and all the rest. And when in the early 1980s and the early 1990s, I saw all of that go under bulldozers. Central Jersey, where I grew up in Somerset County, is now one of the wealthiest counties in the country. Housing is everywhere, condos and all the rest. And basically, watching my friends who had farms, watching the wilderness and the areas that I loved wandering around in as a kid be destroyed, had a huge impact on me. And so I've spent my life working on using emerging technologies and data to help fight for local communities, economic development, and the environment. And so ReSeed specifically is a dream that my two other co-founders and I have had to really start to recognize and to figure out how to recognize properly the value beyond just crops that farms provide to us. So farms have the ability to produce, and they do, produce all sorts of services for us that are beyond the food that we eat. They help sequester carbon. They help cool down the planet. They help to provide us all the food that we eat, which is very, very important. But also, for every ton of carbon that is sequestered on a farm, 25,000 gallons of water do not go down a watershed in a rain event. So they can help prevent flooding. They can help provide biodiversity for us and all the rest. And the challenge with farming right now is that there are 600 million smallholder farms in the world. These are farms where people live on the farm and work on the farm. 600 million of them, to almost 2.5 billion people who live on those farms globally. Almost all of them, statistically all of them, live at or below the poverty level in the country in which they live, including the United States. So in the US, we have just under 2 million farms that exist. We have 10% less than existed 10 years ago. So the number of farms has decreased. The acreage of farmland has stayed the same. Industrial agriculture takes over the land, and families that used to live on that land and benefit from all of the values that they provided have been pushed off of their land. That's what happens here in the United States, and it happens globally. Astonishingly, if you cut out all the corporations and you cut out the people with vineyards and wealthy people who own farms, the average family-owned farm in the United States produces $10,000 a year of revenue from agriculture. Their net revenue is minus $2,500. It is impossible to run a family farm in the United States, statistically, and be profitable. That means, on average, in West Virginia, one of the states in which we're starting to work, farmers there basically have to work a total of 3 jobs outside of the home in order just to make ends meet, and are still living at or below the poverty level in their state. This is happening all across the country, and basically what we set out to do is to use emerging technologies to try to connect a market that actually exists. There's demand for these ecosystem services to the farmers that can actually provide it. So think about, if you grow apples, you want to be connected to lots of people who need apples in different ways. They may make apple pie, they may make applesauce, they may throw apples on a store shelf. If you have ecosystem services, carbon, biodiversity, water, forests, all the different sorts of services that you can have on a farm, there are companies in the world that, because of regulatory pressure, starting in the EU, and a little bit here, because thankfully with the SEC here in the United States starting to enforce claims around climate and carbon specifically, we're starting to see a big demand, $2 billion market for carbon credits in the voluntary market, and multiple times that in regulatory markets globally. And that's just one of the ecosystem services that we can measure. We're starting to see a huge demand that corporations need to, in their supply chain, be able to validate and prove the claims that they're making about climate reductions that are happening. Those are called Scope 3 emissions. So we exist, we're a public benefit corporation, and we work globally. We're in 12 countries. We're hoping to enter into the United States, as I mentioned, with family farmers all around. Our goal, our primary goal as a public benefit corporation is to increase the household income of farmers. And we want to do that because that helps stabilize them on their land. And we do that by bringing these products to market. So I'm gonna go through these very quickly. There's lots of text, but not surprisingly, farmers, not just family farmers, farmers globally, we heard about the carbon markets earlier, less than 1%, in fact, 0.03% of carbon credits on the market today come from active agricultural land. So farmers globally are excluded from ecosystem services markets that have billions of dollars of demand now and hundreds of billions of dollars of demand by 2030 and 2050 as we start meeting UN goals for climate change. So basically, we have the ability basically to work with these farmers to help them increase their income so that we can prevent the loss of land. This is an actual farm on the left that we work with in Brazil. And on the right is literally just on the same road where the photo is taken in this direction. You turn around and it's an industrial soy operation that has been devastating the land and actually violently pushing people off their land. In developing countries all around the world, farmers are not bought out. It's not like a developer comes along and makes you an offer and you sell. You are literally frequently violently removed from your land. And so this has been happening around the world. And by stabilizing farmers on their land, we're able to deal with the problem of deforestation in the world. There's 80% of the world's deforestation right now is taking place on these smallholder farmers' lands as they are lost. So think about the Amazon rainforest, think about all of the major forested areas in Africa right now. All of those areas are under threat when these farmers are pushed off of their land. So basically, I've talked about this. There's a large demand for it. There's new approaches needed. So we build the bridge. We have a technology platform and a social and economic platform, to be clear. It's not just a bunch of technology, to engage with smallholder farmers at scale globally. And so we've been doing this not just for carbon. We do have carbon credits, and I'll get to that in a second. But because of other regulations that have started to crop up around the world, the EU's deforestation regulation, which is one of the most innovative possible pieces of legislation I've ever seen that is going to basically put the palm oil industry out of business. But basically, read about it. I don't have time right now to go into it, but it's an amazing, amazing thing that's happening. And here in the United States, we're starting to see investment firms starting to sue companies for not following the claims that they make around social impact and environmental impact because it's a threat to the bottom line of the company not to do so. Very, very exciting. So we sell credits, we have a platform for data, and we sell syndicated data. I'll just move on. This is the part that I really wanted to talk about today, which is we had to, because there was no ability in the current carbon market globally for active agricultural land, especially smallholder active agricultural land, to generate carbon credits. We actually had to write and publish a new standard for doing so. So it's currently still a protocol. That protocol is under UN review from a bunch of different agencies to get approval as a global standard. And that protocol is available for free on our website, downloadable. Any of you can go to our website and get it. It's not something we sell. And there's a registry tied to it. But all of the requirements of that protocol require complete transparency in the creation of those carbon credits. Don't have time to get into the whole carbon credit market and the problems around it, but lack of transparency is one of the biggest areas, and it's what actually farmers and poor people around the world have been taken advantage of because of the lack of transparency in the marketplace. So basically, every piece of data that we have is written to blockchain. That data is fully auditable. So you can go to registry.ReSeed.farm right now and go look at our online registry of the projects that we currently have underway. A whole lot more are coming soon. But the point is you can literally audit every piece of data and every claim we make. So you don't have to trust us. You don't have to trust our third-party verifiers that are ISO certified to do these sorts of things. You literally have the ability to check it yourself. And we're hoping to restore trust and verification into this marketplace and do it using and working with the data that our farmers are able to harvest from their land. So very, very quickly, the way it works is our farmers harvest the data. It goes into the cloud. We do a bunch of third-party verification, and there's all kinds of partnerships we have with Google and others to do that verification of all the claims that are made. And then we output it into carbon credits and other types of products that people need and companies need. It literally looks like this. This is real data from one of our farmers that basically it's ecosystem services data. So they're telling us things that they know. It takes them 3 to 6 hours a year of interaction with our system. And in our initial pilot projects with 15,000 farmers in Brazil, as we're bringing their carbon credits to market and selling them, we are and expect to double their household income annually. So this is not a small thing. This is a significant change in the income. Now, we won't be able to achieve a doubling of income everywhere we work. It depends on the local areas that we're in. But farmers just have to tell us what crops are where, what vegetation is where, and what soil amendments are where. And then they fill out something that the Farmer Stability Index. It's basically a survey that we do every 6 months with our farmers and track the socioeconomic changes that our farmers are going through. That data all gets wrapped up, verified, as I mentioned earlier, and is made available as higher level aggregations of data to corporations that need to justify and claim this Scope 3 emissions. So you may have heard companies like Walmart have a gigaton initiative to reduce in their supply chain a gigaton of carbon reductions that happen in their supply chain. There is no way to do that from smallholder farms. So coffee, cacao, many, many other types of products that we consume, there's no other way to do it than getting down on the farm, getting your hands in the dirt, and actually figuring out what's happening there. So basically, we are partnered. The implementation methodology, which I think is important just to talk about, we only work, there's nobody from ReSeed that looks like me that's knocking on farmers' doors in Nigeria or Congo or Colombia. We only partner with local NGOs, with co-ops and tribes who have trusted, ongoing, long-term standing relationships with those tribes, with those farmers. And they're the partners that benefit as a result of our work. So basically, as I mentioned, this type of work increases household income. That's our primary thing that we're trying to do. When farmers know that they should be managing for things like carbon and carbon sequestration, for example, they want to learn how, and they see a payment come in within the first 6 to 12 months of engaging with the system, they want to know how to do more. Right? And so regenerative agriculture, quite frankly, is really the only way to do more and to get more of this stuff. And so basically, we already are starting to see our farmers start to invest the initial amounts of money that they get from us into new farming practices that help to, it's an investment, right? The farmers are the best business people on the planet. They know you plant something at the beginning of the season, you tend it a little bit, and you get a result at the end. This is the same thing, but not necessarily just for the crops, but for the ecosystem services. And by the way, when you do regenerative agriculture, within 3 years, in certain crop situations, like cacao, for example, you actually start to see an increase in both the quality and the quantity of the underlying crop that you're producing, and you get a higher price for it. So this has ongoing benefits. It's a long-term relationship that we establish with our farmers. They can choose to exit the relationship at any time, but we engage with our farmers in 5-year cycles and for a maximum of 20 years. So this is not a short-term commitment, and this is not something that, we disappear quickly. And our farmers directly benefit. They make more money than we do. It's very important to say that. And basically, the farmers directly get payments of 50% of the gross income of any data that is sold as a result of any product that comes from their farm. And then an additional 30% goes for what we call farmer support services, which are agricultural technical support, planning, there's financial services involved. We have insurance that we've partnered with the UN's World Food Program on to provide disaster insurance to some of our farmers, all sorts of different types of programs. So 80% of the revenue, gross revenue, not after costs and all the rest, gross revenue goes to support farmers. And 20% is our overhead and take. And we're transparent about all this because we think this is how companies should be interacting with farmers and local communities. It's important. So growth, there's a lot of growth here, big markets, I'll just skip all this. And basically, just to give you an idea, this is older data now, but basically some of the first communities that we worked in, we go in, and that survey that I was talking about that's based on the vulnerability of those farmers, all of that data is available through that registry that I was telling you about. Our customers get access to that data. The farmers get access to their own data, so they get more information back than they put in, which is really important. It improves their crop cycles. And we are able to generate a profit as a result of doing this. That is doing business like, capitalism, market-driven solutions where profit can be made, but we just make sure that the people who are actually doing the real underlying work are making the most. It's a pretty simple concept, we think, and we'd like it's open, we publish everything that we do. It's all open. You can read all about our methodologies on our website, and basically the idea is to try to encourage other companies to use data and measurement to prove what they're doing, make it auditable, and make sure that the people that are engaged in the activity are able to benefit. This has tremendous potential here in the United States, obviously, as we enter into some of the poorest communities in this country, which actually, believe it or not, this sounds weird when I first say it, but we actually, and our farmers actually, profit the most when we're working in communities that have the least. So farmers that are wealthy, for example, or wealthy communities, they don't qualify to get into our system because they're not in a vulnerability status that qualifies them for the types of carbon credits that we can issue. So that is a really cool sort of throwing the normal market on its head that has always benefited the wealthy. And in this case, it benefits the poorest amongst us. So I'm not sure how I'm doing on time. We've got lots of cool partners. We do lots of cool things. We have customers, markets that we're creating for this. And I'm done. Thank you all very much.